So when I was born, I had missing tibias in both of my legs. And the doctors gave my mom two choices. She can either have my legs amputated or have me in a wheelchair for the rest of my life.
Roderick Sewell was born on April 29, 1992 in San Diego, California. His story is a textbook study of how grit, gratitude, and a positive mindset can lift people out of the most difficult places that life takes them. In 2014, after years of struggling, Roderick finally had the opportunity to win a gold medal representing the United States at an international para-swim meet. On this day, one of his competitors was his friend, Rafael Castillo. The last time he raced against Castillo was at the 2012 Paralympic qualifying event.
2012, you lost to Rafael Castillo.
Yes, yeah, Rafael.
Talk to us about that and how that motivated you. First of all, where were you at in your swimming career, and how did that motivate you to do even better?
So in 2012, I was still very green. I had only been swimming 4 years, competitively or training. And Rafael Castillo, he was in my main event, the 100 breaststroke, and I remember he dusted me, beat me bad.
I think what it did for him was it made him reevaluate what he was doing. So I think not making the Paralympic team in 2012 for him was definitely disappointing, but I think it fueled him and motivated him, and I think it motivated him to really get back to work and to try to become faster and faster.
Paralympic gold medalist swimmer Rudy Garcia Tolson and Roderick have been best friends since childhood, sharing the bond of both being double-leg amputees. Roderick was born with his tibia bone missing in both legs, which left his mother, Marion, with a very difficult decision: put Roderick in a wheelchair or have both of his legs amputated.
They called it bilateral tibial agenesis, and I had an option to wait until he was 18 years old to let him decide on whether or not he wanted to amputate or amputate as soon as possible so he can learn how to use what he had. I had never experienced anything so hard, and to have his legs cut off like that, I didn't know anybody else that had their legs cut off like that, but I knew it had to be done because what he was born with, couldn't use.
She decided to get my legs amputated at 1.5 years. I got my first pair of prosthetics when I was 3, and then just kind of took off from there.
I heard your mother made you crawl to get things that you wanted instead of catering to you like you were disabled.
My mom would put my bottle on the other side of the room, make me crawl for it. And she knew I could. She knew it would be beneficial for me, and she knew the world wouldn't hold my hand when it came to getting what I wanted.
He got used to everybody catering to him. My nieces, my mom, everybody would bring things to him. I'm like, no. And I would set his bottle way over there. You want that bottle? Go get it. And I would do that. I know it seemed mean at the time, but I saw that he needed to use what he had.
Many of the friends that Roderick made were through participating in sports with the Challenged Athletes Foundation, an organization that provides kids with disabilities an opportunity to participate in sports.
I first met Roderick when I was, I would say about 11 years old. Right away, it was an instant connection, I would say. It was, we right away understood each other. We right away understood what we went through, what we're going through. And it was very awesome for me because it was the first time I've ever met a young kid who was a double amputee like myself. And when we got connected, it was an instant friendship, like old brothers from back in the day almost.
Roderick and Rudy participated in many Challenged Athlete Foundation events together. However, Rudy, already an accomplished swimmer, could not convince Roderick to go swimming with him.
When we first met each other, I let him know that, swimming is what I love to do. And he was very vocal about him not being involved in swimming at all. And in fact, he had a very big fear of the water.
Yeah, he had a fear of water. And once he got out there and found out it was free, he had freedom. No prosthetics, no nothing. And he could swim and he could move and he could, it was just freedom.
We stuck him on a surfboard at the YMCA, where there was some lifeguards that brought their surfboards in. I'm like, you know what? We're not gonna even get in the water today. I'm gonna teach you how to swim by surfing. He goes, you wanna learn to surf? And he was so excited. So I pushed him around on the board a bit to make him feel like he was surfing, and he'd sit on the board and was surfing. Then his hands started paddling a little bit, and he liked it, and he could turn this way and that. And I go, that's swimming, that's how we start. Then we started with, underwater, and he picked it up. It was pretty fun.
The issue of homelessness has become a major problem in the United States. On any given night, over 500,000 people in our nation are without a home. At around the age of 8 or 9, Roderick and his mother Marion lost their home and needed to sleep in shelters. Marion had been employed by the Department of Defense for nearly 15 years, but the insurance with her job did not cover the steep price of prosthetics.
Prosthetics are not cheap, especially knees, labor, sockets, feet. And when you have two of them, it becomes really, really difficult. But so she was doing well. She's doing pretty good on her own, but by the time that they told her that what the price was for my prosthetics, she told them that she couldn't afford it. The fastest route she could think of was, quit her job, go for unemployment, and get full coverage for my prosthetics. So because of her sacrifice, I was able to walk.
I cried all the time. And he didn't understand. I tried to make it an adventure for him, especially when we went into St. Vincent. And I'm like, we're going on an adventure, and I had to ease him into it because he couldn't understand why we couldn't go home. And I'm like, well, we have no home no more. This is where we're staying for now.
There were times where we stayed in shelters where it wasn't that great. It wasn't a dorm room, but you had a cot, you slept next to somebody you would see on the side of the road who didn't necessarily look or keep themselves together.
You don't sleep. You don't sleep. You watch these people all night long. You have those that steal. You have those that were on drugs. You have those that were pedophiles. It was awful. And for me, being a parent with an amputee kid, you can't leave your child in the room for safety reasons. So whatever you do, it have to be for the baby. That's just what I believe.
My mom, she kept my hopes up. She kept me kind of driven. She would keep me, I don't want to say entertained, but she would always keep my spirits high, without a doubt. And then when I turned 10, I got my first pair of running blades. And at that age is when I was still homeless, but walking around with a smile on my face because I had a new outlet, a new way of life. And it was being active. It was doing sports, running, wheelchair basketball, hand cycling, anything, everything. And then eventually swimming.
He got into wheelchair basketball, he got into wheelchair soccer and all. And I see these kids, it's a bunch of them. They're out there, half of them don't have their hands, half of them don't have use of their hands or their legs, and they going. I kept them in that world, and that inspired me to keep going.
Sports and the ability to compete gave Roderick something positive to look forward to at a time when he had so much difficulty in his life. His positive spirit and infectious smile were on full display when Roderick competed as a novice swimmer at the Black History Invitational Swim Meet.
You could see him struggling to get across that pool, and it was taking him another 2 and 3 minutes. But he kept going, and that was the biggest thing for him, is to just finish. That young man had that whole place just cheering him on. Come on, you can do it, you can finish. And he did. He did.
At 16 is when I decided that I wanted to do Paralympic swimming. So I joined my first swim team in high school, and the kids were a lot faster, way faster. They've been on teams for years. For a swimmer who's just joining a swim team at 16, that's pretty late in the game, because a lot of these guys have been on swim teams since they were 8, But my team was pretty supportive, and I was kind of like the team mascot. Everybody cheered for me during my race, and there was times where I was still finishing last.
Although Roderick was consistently finishing behind his more experienced rivals, he continued to work hard, and this got him to the 2012 Paralympic qualifying event where he lost to Rafael Castillo. However, his commitment to his training program continued, and it set him up for a chance to compete against Castillo again at the 2014 Pan American Swim Championships.
What was the difference the second time? Was your mindset different going into it?
My mindset was a lot different. I had done a lot more heavy training, and I kind of knew what to expect. I knew he was going to be fast, but I knew I could keep up. Pretty much, yeah. It was less of, oh my gosh, this guy's going to beat me back in 2012, is what I was thinking. Is I was already beaten before I got off the blocks. So I got the chance to compete with him again, and he didn't know from 2012 to 2014 that I've been training just to beat him.
In 2014, a decade after being homeless, and just 6 years after beginning to swim competitively, Roderick Sewell represented the United States at the Pan America Para Swimming Championships. He was able to defeat Rafael Castillo in a preliminary race and go on to win the gold medal.
I could have easily gave in and been sad or depressed, or, I've seen a lot of people, limbs or no limbs, that just have kind of given up on life, and I could have easily been one of those people. Thankfully, I had my support group, and them pushing me is helping me kind of break boundaries, break barriers, and break stereotypes from, oh, black people don't swim, oh, if you're an amputee, you can't really do anything. It's just all these random things that you could listen to if you wanted to. But I just refused to be held back, be put down.